Welcome to another episode of Books and Bites. We are diving deep into Hermann Hesse's Siddhartha. It's a journey. One man's search for enlightenment, ancient India, time of the Buddha. Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll be pulling from a really detailed summary of the novel and kind of try to unpack, the big things. What's this journey about? What are the philosophical themes? Self-discovery, inner peace, suffering, wisdom, transcendence, all the good stuff.
It's amazing how Hesse blends Eastern philosophy. You've got Hinduism, Buddhism, even a touch of Taoism in there, mixed with Western existentialism. So it makes this book, I think, feel so timeless.
Oh, yeah, totally. And at the center of it all, we have Siddhartha. He's born into a wealthy Brahmin family, smart, good-looking, knows the scriptures, but still something's missing.
Right, you can have it all on paper and still feel empty. I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's that inner emptiness that kind of sets his whole journey in motion.
Exactly. He realizes early on that rituals, teachings, they're all good, but they don't give him that direct experience of enlightenment. And he sees even the wise Brahmins, they haven't found that true peace.
So it makes you wonder, where in our own lives are we maybe relying on secondhand knowledge instead of going out and experiencing things for ourselves?
That's a good question to ponder. And then there's Govinda, Siddhartha's best friend. Siddhartha confides in him, talks about his dissatisfaction, his yearning for something more. It's that pull to break away, to find your own path, even if it means leaving everything behind.
That tension between sticking with the familiar and venturing into the unknown, that's pretty universal, right?
Yeah.
And Siddhartha, he makes a pretty radical decision. Goes against his father and becomes a samana, a wandering ascetic. What did that look like? Why would he choose such an extreme past?
So the samanas, they were all about self-denial. No possessions, no comfort. They fasted weeks at a time, meditated constantly, even inflicted pain on themselves.
Wow. Why? What was the thinking behind that?
The idea was to basically destroy the ego, the self, the Atman, as they called it in Hinduism. They believed that's how you reach transcendence. By negating the self, the physical, you reach a higher state of being.
Interesting. So it's by minimizing the self, you maximize something greater.
Right. But after 3 years of this intense practice, Siddhartha has another realization. It hits him that this extreme asceticism, all this denial, hasn't actually brought him closer to enlightenment. He looks at his fellow samanas, and they don't seem any wiser than the Brahmins he left.
So he comes full circle, in a way. It's neither extreme really works, just following rituals blindly or punishing yourself. Neither one leads to the truth.
Precisely. That's a big takeaway, right? And then they hear about this guy, Gautama, the Buddha, who's drawing huge crowds. Naturally, they go to check it out.
So they encounter the Buddha. What's that like?
It's this palpable sense of peace and enlightenment surrounding him. They listen to his teachings, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. Govinda's totally hooked.
Yeah, Govinda decides to become a disciple. He finds his path there.
He does. But Siddhartha, he's got a different take. He acknowledges the Buddha's enlightenment, even says that he admires him, But, and this is key, he points out that the Buddha got there on his own, not by following someone else's rules.
There it is again, that emphasis on direct experience. It's you can't just learn enlightenment from a book, you have to live it.
Exactly. And so Siddhartha decides to go his own way. After leaving the ascetics, he has this kind of awakening. He starts seeing the world with new eyes. The beauty of nature, the simple pleasures of the senses. He realizes that by rejecting the world, he had also rejected life itself.
It's he's coming back to life. He decides to embrace the world, to experience everything it has to offer, not try to escape from it.
And that leads him to Kamala, the courtesan. She agrees to teach him about love and pleasure, but only if he becomes wealthy and gains social status. It's there are gatekeepers to knowledge and experience, even in the realm of sensual pleasures.
So he swings to the other extreme, from complete denial to embracing wealth and sensual gratification.
He becomes a successful businessman, enjoys the good life, the whole 9 yards. He even gambles. Has a passionate relationship with Kamala, but still, that inner emptiness persists.
He's trying everything, testing the limits of experience, but nothing quite fills that void.
Right. And eventually, he realizes he's become, just like everyone else, caught up in the pursuit of wealth and pleasure. It disgusts him. It shows that just doing the opposite of what you did before, that doesn't necessarily lead to balance or fulfillment.
So he abandons everything again, leaves all his wealth, his comfortable life, even Kamala, and goes back to the wilderness.
Totally lost and disillusioned, he comes to a river and meets Vasudeva, a ferryman.
This is where things really shift for Siddhartha. He finds peace in the river, its constant flow, like those constants we all have in our lives that bring us a sense of grounding.
So Vasudeva becomes his new teacher, in a way, but not in the traditional sense. He teaches Siddhartha to listen to the river, not to words or doctrines. The river teaches about interconnectedness, about how everything is linked, about the cyclical nature of existence, that every experience, good or bad, is part of a larger whole. It makes you think what seemingly random events in our lives might actually be connected in ways we don't understand.
So Siddhartha becomes a ferryman himself, alongside Vasudeva. This seems to be a time of deep transformation for him.
Yeah. He lets go of his ambition, his constant striving, and embraces simplicity, being present in the moment. He learns from life itself, instead of chasing after some abstract idea of enlightenment.
Then life throws him another curveball. Kamala shows up at the river.
Yeah, Kamala, who's now a follower of the Buddha, arrives with a young boy, Siddhartha's son, who he never knew. And then, tragically, she gets bitten by a snake and dies, leaving Siddhartha to care for his son.
Wow, that must have been a huge challenge for him. This is a guy who's been on a solo quest for enlightenment for years, and now he's a father. How does he handle that?
It's a difficult relationship. The boy resents Siddhartha's simple life. He wants the wealth and pleasure he had with his mother. Eventually, he runs away, breaks Siddhartha's heart.
And in that heartbreak, there's another lesson.
Right, absolutely. He learns about true love, that it means letting go without clinging or expectations. It's painful, but it's also liberating. Even our deepest attachments, they can teach us profound lessons if we let them.
So all these experiences, the denial, the indulgence, the love, the loss, they all come together in his final enlightenment by the river. How does that happen?
He's meditating after years of seeking and experiencing life, and he hears the true voice of the river. It's the sound of Om, the fundamental sound of the universe. That's when he attains nirvana. He understands that time is an illusion, that suffering and joy are two sides of the same coin, and that wisdom can't be taught, only experienced.
What happens to Vasudeva?
Seeing that Siddhartha has reached enlightenment, Vasudeva peacefully walks into the forest, returning to the unity he always embodied. Siddhartha takes his place as the ferryman, guiding others across the river of life.
And then, years later, Govinda returns.
He comes to the river, but doesn't recognize Siddhartha in the simple ferryman. Siddhartha explains that wisdom isn't found in doctrines or words, but in life itself. And in a really powerful gesture, he asks Govinda to kiss his forehead.
And what happens?
Govinda has this vision of infinite unity, all beings flowing together, interconnected. He finally understands Siddhartha's enlightenment.
So looking back at this whole journey, what are the key takeaways?
The biggest one is you have to experience truth for yourself. You can't just rely on someone else's teachings. And then finding balance is crucial. Extremes, whether it's denial or indulgence, they don't lead to wisdom. Nature, especially the river, represents the interconnectedness of everything, the flow of life. Letting go of attachments, whether it's to things, people, or ideas, that's another big one. And finally, life itself, with all its ups and downs, is the path to enlightenment.
That's beautifully put. It really makes you think about your own path, your own river. What experiences in our lives have taught us more than any book or teacher could?
Exactly. It's a story that invites us to engage with the big questions, the fundamental questions of existence.
If you're intrigued by Siddhartha's journey, you can find a link to the book in the description. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into literature and philosophy, make sure to subscribe to Books and Bites.